Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com and the Big Four Accounting Firms YouTube channel. Before we get started, just wanted to remind everybody to support us if you have a chance or if you can. Even $1 helps, and we have a link in the description to a website called Buy Me a Coffee. It's just a way to donate to us and support us. Again, any amount is helpful so that we can keep putting out content. And there's also other ways for you to support us in the show notes to this podcast or on YouTube in the description. In today's podcast, I wanted to discuss some really huge news that came out from PwC. PwC has announced that they are going to create 100,000 new jobs. And specifically, they're going to help with ESG, but it's not only ESG, it's going to be other stuff too. And it's really going to be ESG and diversity. And if you've listened to this podcast at all for the past 6 months, you're probably wondering why I've been talking about ESG, about diversity, and all this stuff, because you might not be thinking about that. You might be thinking about, like, I just want to do accounting and I just want to work for financial services. But now we see the impact. And I've been predicting this for the past year with COVID and all this stuff about the governments increasing their regulation and power. And now it's having a direct impact. And now we're seeing how this is going to impact the big four accounting firms and how they're really taking advantage of it. Last year was all doom and gloom because of the big four accounting firms were firing people and they thought the world was coming to an end. But once the governments got their footing and got more power and have spent more money than they've ever spent in like all of time, it's clear that the governments of the world, and not just the US, are going to increase their power. And the big four accounting firms feel so comfortable that they're willing to invest $12 billion, that's what PwC says, over 5 years to create 100,000 new jobs. Now, I get frustrated with this because, well, multiple reasons, but mainly because they just got through laying people off and reducing their salaries. And now they're saying, like, a huge headline guaranteeing that they're going to hire these many people. What if there's another downturn in the economy? What if the pandemic returns and there's a bunch of lockdowns? Then they're going to go back on this. So I don't know why. I mean, I know why they're going public with this, so that they can get it in front of their clients and global governments, to let the global governments let them know that they're ready to do work and let their clients know that they're ready to do work. And so they're going to help clients grapple with climate and diversity reporting. So those are the two big things we've been talking about on this podcast, ESG and then all this diversity stuff. And it's been in the news and all over their Twitter timelines for a reason, because they're all in on this, because all governments are in on this. And more specifically in the US, you now have the SEC, which is trying to use their governmental powers to mandate climate reporting and diversity reporting. And even on this podcast, we recently talked about KPMG, how they have a new tool to disclose which companies are meeting diversity metrics, are disclosing diversity metrics, and which are not. So they can highlight all the companies that need to disclose diversity that aren't doing it right now. So the big four are all in on increased government regulation around these two areas. And it's the governments that are increasing it, but the big four are going to be pushing this to their clients. So companies are going to be getting it from both sides. And the big four feel more empowered, like BlackRock, and other large investment firms have taken more activist role in ESG reporting, getting on boards like Exxon and forcing them to do more with ESG. So the big four only have more to gain here, because increased regulation means increased reporting. And if they can make more revenue from that, then they're going to do that. So these are two things that are going to impact the future of work at the big four accounting firms. And you have to think about that in your career. This is a good area to work in. But also, I think this is a good time as accountants to demand more money. And I think that's what people need to do in the face of this. And PwC says they're going to hire 25,000 to 30,000 of these 100,000 that they're going to hire in the United States. And 10,000 of those will be from Black and Latinx communities. And I think the big four accounting firms aren't going to meet those metrics. And I think that's for many reasons. They're not active in these communities. I mean, that's just blatantly obvious by the metrics they do disclose, because in Europe they disclose it and they never meet the metrics they say they're going to meet. But also, what PwC doesn't understand, and what these big four accounting firms need to understand, and what they should pay me in this podcast a lot of money for, is they don't think these things through. Right now, Black people and Latinx people, it's diversity is one of the biggest issues in the world right now. Everybody's trying to diversify their workforce. They're even forcing this on other companies, PwC and the big four accounting firms and governmental institutions. So to think that they're going to be able to meet this metric in the face of this huge hiring surge for these communities, they better be ready to pay a lot more than everybody else. Because if I'm Black or Latinx, why would I work for PwC? Unless they're going to pay me more than Goldman Sachs or a law firm or some other company, or the large public company like Google and Amazon and like the largest companies in the world. Why would I work for PwC? Why am I going to work around the clock? They better be able to pay a lot of money, but not only pay a lot of money to 10,000 new people over the next 5 years. I don't think PwC sees that coming. And from what I hear and what I see a lot of people leaving the big four accounting firms, and the big four accounting firms trying to retain them. So the big four accounting firms are going to have to pay a lot of money because they need the most people because they're professional services firms. And I don't see that. I don't think they've thought that through. I think they've established funds like Deloitte, where Deloitte's going to invest, $50 or $75 million to speak to these communities and get them to try and do an accounting career. But fine, you raise awareness of accounting. You still have to get the people through college, through CPA, and then be interested in your firm and your salary. I don't think the big four are thinking that far ahead, and I don't think they are ready with a salary package to recruit these people. But I mean, we'll see how this goes. It's 100,000 new jobs. That's such a huge number. I'm sure we're going to hear this from the other big four accounting firms, and we've already been seeing it because the big four accounting firms are raising bonuses, trying to retain people. Unfortunately, I think they're going to lose a lot of people because I don't think they're paying people enough. We've seen huge bonuses come out of the law firms and other companies, and a lot of people are leaving, which means salaries are better at other places. So I think the big four have a lot of headwind in front of them, and I think they're going to lose a lot of people. They're obviously trying to hire a lot of people, but I think they're going to lose a lot of people, and I don't think they've adjusted salaries enough to make up for what they need to get done. So I think they're going to get out over their skis. But the other thing they have to be careful of is when they do raise salaries or whatever, that the economy doesn't come whipsawing back and there's some kind of a downturn, whether it's related to a pandemic or not, and then they let a bunch of people go. So I think there's a lot of planning to be done here. It's very interesting. It's a great opportunity. But I think in the face of this, I think people need to start asking for more money, because I think instead of saying that you need to create 100,000 new jobs, maybe you also need to have a plan to retain the people that you do have and maybe increase salaries too. But it's huge news. I just wanted to get that out there to update people. There's a huge opportunity here in the big four accounting firms, and it's only growing in ESG. So if you're interested in that all, then that's a good area to get into and become a specialist in as the area grows. This and crypto, I think, crypto is my own thing, but I think crypto is the future because there's a lot of news about people investing in crypto as well. But ESG and crypto in the big four accounting firms is growing. PwC is the first one to come out with these huge numbers. Let's see who else comes out with this next. But that's the update for today. Make sure to subscribe to get future updates. Support us financially through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes of this podcast. And thanks for listening.